many in the air?
13, sir.
How many can I carry?
4, sir.
I think Tony has had a very human journey for someone who's part of this Marvel universe. In a way, Stan Lee is just so brilliant because the Iron Man character with Tony helps ground almost everything and everyone else into something, well, there's someone who could be one of us, you know? So I think that's the way it's important. Seeing him mature is probably the wrong word, but seeing him be able to flex as he goes through all these different challenges and kind of maintain his wit and his integrity in some way. He didn't really have integrity when we first met him, and then he gained it as he used technology to save his own skin. So there's a lot of themes that I think are every bit as current today as they were in the 60s when Stan thought them up.
I think that RHODEY feels like he's got a job to do. He feels like the suit is his. He's the public sector, superhero, while Tony is, the private sector superhero, and doesn't have to worry about chain of command and can be untethered. And RHODEY kind of plays as Tony's conscience. I think he takes what he's doing pretty seriously, and it's great to see in the third act how these guys complement each other and how they need each other while they're busting each other's chops all the way through to the end of it.
All our beloved Western iconography, our history, the things that we hold dear as a Western society, he's very knowledgeable of, and he will take these treasures and turn them on their head, twist them, manipulate them, and I think it must be very frightening for an audience of TV viewers to watch a TV political broadcast and see that it's coming from a knowledge of them. It's not coming from an ignorant alien lack of knowledge of them. It comes from quite a sophisticated knowledge of Western iconography, language, and value systems. He takes them and turns them on their head. He twists them. He destroys them cynically, ironically, mockingly. And I think that makes him a very manipulative threat, leading with language and thought and intelligence rather than kicking and punching. So a kicker and a puncher you can dismiss, but somebody who knows so much about you, that's very frightening.
Maya Hansen meets Tony Stark when she's basically still a student at MIT, and has come up with some incredibly advanced developments, inventions, which go on to shape the entire narrative of the film, really, the stuff that she's invented. And when she meets Tony Stark, she's aware that she's met someone that could potentially help her with her science, but they also end up having a little affair, which is, almost neither here nor there, but it's kind of, yeah.
And I think for Aldrich Killian, I mean, he's somebody who recognises great talent in the sort of technological or the scientific world, and has been a fan of Maya's. He says that he's been sort of reading her articles, for however long, since year 2 at MIT, I think, and Tony Stark again is somebody who he admires greatly, and jumps into this lift and hoping to sort of come along and join the party with these guys. And Tony says, "I'll meet you up on the roof. Forget the party. I'll meet you up on the roof and we'll talk shop." And leaves him up there and never actually comes up, which really gives Aldrich the time to sort of think about the fact that he's sort of sick of this happening. He's probably somebody who's pushed his way into elevators many times before and been sort of shoved out, and this is the final straw. And so I think for him, it's kind of given him the motivation to really do what it is he wants to do, which is change himself and try and become a better person, whatever that means.
I've been intimately exposed to everything that worked and maybe didn't work so good in all the kinds of movies that I've enjoyed seeing that you could call genre movies over the last 25 years. And so it's kind of more of a to-do not list which is, you know, repeating yourself, going for the same kind of jokes, going for the same kind of emotional moments, going for the same kind of plot turnarounds. And Shane Black was the new concept bringer for Iron Man 3, and in some ways, you know, and Jon Favreau and I were saddled with helping to launch this perhaps bigger idea of an Avengers franchise. So we had some heavy lifting to do, and strangely, Shane, who just kind of joined us recently, has had none of those requirements because of the success of Avengers. So life's funny.
We all know when we're getting into one of these things that it's a huge juggernaut, and at some point we're all just kind of strapping in and trying to get to this, survive and get to the end of it. And Shane, to his credit, you know, sought out Jon Favreau, who had helmed the first two, and really, you know, didn't lean on him, but really availed himself of his insight, and they actually worked kind of closely together to help realize this and help Shane understand what the particular challenges would be with this film. But then when you have that and Shane's ability to hear dialogue and to kind of rebrand this buddy action genre inside of this big movie was a lot of fun.